been to some fireplaces. It's hard to carry on when you feel all alone. Now I've swung back down again. It's worse than it was before. If I had seen such riches, I could live with being poor. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down next to me. Sit down, 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 down. Sympathy.
Evening, people, evening. I have an esteemed guest on here tonight from America, where all carnage is happening down in the deep southwest. It's all going off. Ridiculous. I was watching it on a webcam. Mate, it's what's going on?
It's crazy. It's crazy, Jez. The Gulf is too warm right now, and the weather's getting absolutely out of control. I have a couple of friends down in Florida that are evacuating, so all the safety and best wishes to them. I think the entire state is evacuating, if I'm not mistaken. So keep those guys in your thoughts, and if your prayers in your prayers, if that's your thing. But yeah, it's going off down there, unfortunately. Thankfully, I'm landlocked. So it's nothing I need to worry about. All I need to worry about are tornadoes, but we're not quite in that season right now.
This is a big one as well, isn't it?
It's a Cat 5. It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst in terms of barometric pressure, whatever that means. So essentially that means it's going to be violent. So hopefully, people stay safe, and there's just essentially going to be a ton of structural damage. So
yeah, I was watching it on your Fox TV.
Yeah,
earlier, and it's like they had some plane flying around it. These hurricane people.
Yeah,
and apparently it was 50 millibars. I mean, that is so low. It's like wow.
It's just insane, man. Like all I know is that we have to just support each other down here. And it's reminding me of back in 2005 when Katrina hit New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing is going to happen to probably Tampa Bay and the entire Gulf facing coast of Florida. So hopefully it's not as bad as everybody thinks it's going to be, but it's not looking that way, unfortunately.
No, we don't want to. Anyway, let's get on to better stuff.
Yes.
Let's get your journey. Yeah. I did Dow's last night. That was brilliant. I did Lee's earlier. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
So, okay. As an international fan, that's what I like to call you guys.
Yeah.
Right. What attracted you, mate, to joining and supporting Arsenal?
Well, it was like-mindedness. So when I really didn't start following Arsenal until around 2010, 2011, which is why your channel is so good, because I get to hear about the history prior to. I mean, I can't say I was around for the Invincibles. I can't say I was around for any of the league wins, unfortunately. So I've had to go back and listen to it and learn about that on my own. But what got me into Arsenal was I was always tangentially interested in football. I wasn't necessarily a football fan. I was more of a hockey, American football, baseball kind of guy. But I was also always tangentially interested in it. So I kind of decided one day, I don't know what got into me. I decided I was gonna pick a Premier League team and follow it. I mean, obviously I knew about the big teams, Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, but I never really attached myself to a team. But I did know, and people are going to I've been called a fraud for this, by the way. So this is, but this is truly my journey is, the Colorado Avalanche are also, which is where I'm from. I'm from Littleton, Colorado, south suburb of Denver, which is where the Colorado Avalanche play. And they are, and that was my first love, like in terms of a sports team. Like they moved to Denver in 1995. and I was obsessed since I was a little kid. So essentially, what you know about Arsenal, I know about the Avalanche. Essentially, it's that, like, I know the level of history for that club. So back in 2010, I looked at I was looking at teams, and I saw that the Cronkies, who own the Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets and a couple of other teams, the LA Rams, a couple of other teams out here in America, they also owned Arsenal. So I was thinking, you know, at that time Arsenal were kind of middling. You know, we were competing, but we weren't winning. You know, we weren't winning titles. But the Avalanche were awful. So I was just like, you know what? Maybe I should get attached to a fan base that's suffering as much as I am. Like, maybe I could relate to that kind of fan base, because we hadn't at that point, we hadn't won anything, and we were
glutton for punishment then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm a glutton for punishment, because when we win, it's the sweet. When we eventually win, and we will, it's the sweetest thing. I remember when the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago. We hadn't won a Stanley Cup in 20 years at that point. Sound familiar? And we hadn't won anything. And we won in 2022. I remember it was June, and this was before I was on YouTube, but I was still following you guys. It was June 26th, 2022. And we won the Stanley Cup over the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games. And I cried in the back of a cab. I was I was hammered, just pissed. and you know, singing "We Are the Champions" in the back of a cab in Kansas City, like just partying because we had finally gotten it over the line. And, you know, I do believe Arsenal will get there at some point, but yeah, I mean, that was really the beginning of it for me, was just attaching myself to a team. And, you know, I had fraternity brothers and roommates and things like that were fans of the Premier League. So there was always a fair bit of banter. The best man at my wedding and my best friend, are both Manchester United fans. So I was always chatting shit with them in the mid-10s when it came to Premier League. Obviously, they had a little bit more to brag on, United, back in the last days of Fergie, but that was pretty much what got me into it.
Fair play, man. No, yeah, look, what I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there at times that berate people for the, oh, you're not Arsenal, this, that, you know, you've only been supporting for like this long, that long. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you either support the club or you don't. I mean, you wouldn't believe this. You won't believe some of the comments I've had come in my chat after the show I did with Lee today. Why do I hate Arsenal? Hello, I don't hate Arsenal. And this guy was saying, well, I replied back to him. I said, how am I hating Arsenal? I'm talking to Lee Gunner, and we're talking about his journey. Mm-hmm. That's not hating Arsenal. I had it with Dow last night. I had a couple of Muppets come in live, yeah, and I said, why are you being negative about Arsenal? Well, actually, I'm talking to Dow about his Arsenal journey. Where are you coming from? What mentality? Anyway, we'll move on from that.
Yeah, and well, you know, there are haters all over the place, and you know, it's everybody. What I've realized, especially since you got me into YouTube, thank you for that, and I'm sure we'll get into that story soon. In my year and a half that I've been doing this, I realized that everybody thinks that their way of supporting Arsenal, not everybody, but a majority of the people, especially some of the keyboard warriors in the chat, think their way of supporting Arsenal is the only way, right? Like, as they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I don't like that. I don't like that saying necessarily, but that, you know, at the end of the day, we're all supporting this club. It's just, you know, the manner in which you support it shouldn't necessarily be judged or make you into, you know, less of a fan, I guess. Like, prime example, I used to butt heads in the chat with Egal, right?
Yeah.
And I would always just, me and him would argue. But, you know, backstage after a show one time, we ended up talking about families and personal lives and just hanging out. And you end up realizing like these are real people with real lives that, you know, all they do this, they support this club because they love it, and they have their own opinions that might differ from in terms of direction. But we're all people at the end of the day, and we're all, you know, we're all Arsenal supporters at the end of the day too. So it's just like, you know, argue the opinion, not necessarily the person. And I see a lot of that devolves into, you know, insulting the person whether, you know, rather than the opinion, if that makes sense.
That's a great point, actually. That's an absolutely great point. Very well said. Irvin says, yeah, Dow, you were always there for your daughter from the start, watching Arsenal together, sharing quality time. Yeah, that was a great debate, great comments last night on Dow's show, to be honest.
Dow's A1.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty personal, I won't deny. Big up Kyle, by the way. I'm doing Kyle Walsh's The Volcano on Saturday. That'll be. I've got Warren.
I'm pulling up for that Kyle Walsh. Yeah. I'll be front row center for that one.
Yeah, I'm going to buy a fire extinguisher. That one. Big up Prince Fluid as well. Big up his catastrophic mistake selling Eddie and keeping Jesus. Well, we're not going to get into that tonight. But anyway, mate. Right, this is like, since you've watched Arsenal or replays or history, I don't know, whatever doesn't whatever your opinion. There's no agenda here, right? No agenda at all. What's your favourite Arsenal game that you can remember watching or whatever?
Oh man. Honestly, and this is personal. There's a couple. Yeah, TJ, please take Edu's job. I'll do it right now to show me. I'll take his money too, to be honest with you. One that, like, I'll tell you my favorite, and then I'll tell you one that's personal to me. I remember, and these are recent examples. Like I've gone back, you know, like I said, I started watching in 2010. So like the ones that really stick out to me are, you know, Henry scoring on his return to North London after being at Red Bull for forever. Like here's the thing. Here, you guys want to know something, and the chat is gonna lose it on this one. At this one, okay? The chat is gonna lose it. Are you ready? I did not know who Thierry Henry was until I saw him playing for the New York Red Bulls. I had no idea who he was. So when I attached to Arsenal, I had to go back and learn about what a legend he was and still is, in my opinion. And so when I saw him score against Leeds in that FA Cup match on his return on loan, wearing number 12, like that was emotional to me. And I go back and watch that clip all the time just because the Emirates just absolutely loses it. And it's extremely emotional. You can tell how much it meant to him. Like, and that really, like, in terms of giving you goosebumps, like that is one that's like, it triggers emotions, right? I would say the FA Cup win in 2020, our last trophy, was probably sticks out to me as probably my favorite, just because I was in such a bad place at that time that I was looking for anything. Obviously, you guys remember that we were all in lockdown during that FA Cup win. Nobody was in the stands.
Nope.
And we were all just looking for something. And that was when I really, really got into Arsenal and listening to the podcasts and getting into the content, was around that time, because there was nothing else going on. Like, we were all working from home. I'm still working from home. Yeah. Like, and I was just looking for any sort of sports to hold on to. So when the Premier League came back, that was everything to me. And that was all that I watched. It was everything. Like, all I did was watch football. All I did was play FIFA. Like, said hi to my girlfriend, now wife, every so often. At
Well,
the time, you know.
She married you after that.
Yeah, could you believe the fact that she stays married to me after some of the BS I pull up here is absolutely insane. Like it's you know, she's an absolute queen. And you know, she when Arsenal come to the US, Jez, she comes with me to wherever I go. She comes with me. She is also an Arsenal fan. She loves it. You know, she's not in here, you know, because there are some, let's be honest, Jez, there are some fucking weirdos on YouTube. So she doesn't like coming in front of the camera. But she is an Arsenal fan, and I am spreading the Arsenal gospel amongst my friend group. And you know, when we went, I took a couple of friends out to Philadelphia to watch them play against Liverpool. So yeah, we're converting people over here, Jez, is what I'm trying to say.
Well,
but yeah, those are core memories for me.
Well, you can't knock it, man. But I'll give it to you. AFC always says my all-time favourite game was winning the league at Anfield '89. It was even more special because I was there.
Yeah.
So you're about the same age as me, mate. You know, you obviously, if you were there for that, you're about the same age as me. So you've got to be what, 60, 63. So we've got an affinity together on that one. What's that? Oh, Red Bull.
Red Bull.
Yeah. No way you Tom Canton fan. No, that's not happening here. Anyway, mate, next question. Question. Your best goal for Arsenal. Your best goal.
Oh.
Any game, FA Cup, League Cup, Premier League, Champions League, whatever.
Best goal. Honestly, and here's another core memory too, and this is a recent one. And this is a little bit of a story too. So I used to, before I really got into the YouTube thing, I used to go watch with the KC Gooners out here in Kansas City. There's a group of about 400 people in Kansas City that get together and watch the games at a pub in downtown Kansas City, right? So I used to go down there. I should go back down there because they're awesome people. And I remember watching that game. I think it was in 2022. It was the last time we lost against Tottenham. It was when we lost. I think it was 3-1 or 3-0 when we dropped top 4. And it ended up getting, you know, top 5 and, you know, getting into the Europa League after finishing 8th 2 seasons in a row. I remember watching that game and watching us lose and being like, fuck, like this is all like, that's the lowest point I've ever felt as an Arsenal fan, losing that. So when we finally, I remember I was on a plane to St. Lucia with my wife to go on our honeymoon. And I was sitting there drinking a Jack and Coke and watching the game on my phone with a bunch of, because St. Lucia is, I think it's a British territory, if I'm not mistaken. And there were a lot of British people on the plane from, I believe we were flying out of Atlanta. And it was, I remember the day, it was January 16th, 2023. And that was when we played Tottenham for the first time at their stadium after losing 3-0. And Bukayo Saka's goal against Hugo Lloris, when Lloris like got a hand on it but deflected it into the top of the net, I lost my mind in front of 300 people on this plane, embarrassed the shit out of my wife. But the rest of the plane, like 10 other people erupted with me because they were watching it at the same time. So I just remember, like, I lost my mind, and our flight attendant was this guy. His name was Mark, and he was from Britain, and he gave me a fist bump. Like, I just remember absolutely losing it. We won that game, and it was kind of the turnaround to where, you know, when we haven't lost to those bums since. And I don't think we will for a while. But I just remember that turnaround of finally beating them at their place and being completely elated. That was probably my favorite, just because of, just because of recency and the story attached to it. I just absolutely lost it. And then Saka doing this in front of the away end, dunking on him. It was fantastic. It was electric.
Fair enough. I get that. What was your best cup final that you can remember, what you watched or whatever? It can be any League Cup, FA Cup. Well, we haven't been many times in Europe, so
Yeah.
we're not too great about that. But your best cup final, man.
Well, a lot of the cup finals that I've been a fan, since I've been truly a fan, we've lost. So it's like, obviously I go back and I watch, I watched Anfield 89, and that wasn't a cup final, but I mean, these games are like, when these games happened, I was 1 year old. So it was hard for me to be like, oh yeah, no, I remember that day when we won the FA Cup. No. My favorite, I kind of already alluded to it, was the 2020 FA Cup. Aubameyang, 2 goals, put the team on his back. Obviously, it was tenuous getting there. We had just hired Arteta. He was playing with Edu's team, so you're just kind of like, okay, what are we gonna do here? We're going up against Chelsea, and I fucking hate Chelsea. I have a special hatred for Chelsea. So and here's the thing: is anybody who says you're not an Arsenal fan because you're an American, ask any American football fan how they feel about Chelsea, Tottenham, or Manchester United. Ask any Arsenal fan here that, and they will deliver a fucking rant that will put you on your ass. They will make the English have shame. Like, we hate those teams. So when we were able to beat Chelsea 2-0 after them ruining, especially Eden Hazard, ruining so many Saturday mornings for me, especially in the late, 2015 through 2020, that was really, really special. Like, I hated the team. I hate Chelsea. So just being able to beat them is fantastic. So that was probably my favorite, and that's just the one that I remember the most. Because again, like, I really, really started paying attention to Arsenal during COVID, and I really started getting my education at that point. So that was really one, especially with where we were at as a society with COVID and lockdown and all that stuff, that really, really sticks out for me. Yeah, I mean, and I would need to go back to watch that European Cup Winners' Cup final, for the last time we won in Europe, but domestically, that's the one that definitely sticks out for me, especially because we hadn't won a cup. Obviously it's a longer one now, but we hadn't won a trophy in quite a while. So
yeah, fair. I've just thought of a different question that I didn't ask Dale, and I'm not going to ask you that question either. It's unfair. Right, your favourite Arsenal player?
Oh, going back through the comps, Thierry Henry. I mean, come on. Like, what a player. The best Premier League striker, winger to ever do it. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing any of that. And obviously we're in a different era now, to where, obviously I think Thierry Henry could cook in this era, but in terms of just changing the game, it has to be Thierry Henry. He could score from anywhere. He could outpace anybody. The way that he was on the ball, like, you remember that Champions League clip where he's chasing down. I don't remember who it was against. I think it was against Real Madrid, when he was chasing that ball down and he kicked that ball down into the corner because he was time wasting, and then he kicked it like 40 yards down the pitch, stopped it himself on the corner, and then kicked it out himself for a goal kick, or they forced them to kick it out for a corner. Like, come on, man. Like, the guy was so talented, so fast, so smart on the ball.
Yeah,
He was a little Yeah, he was a little bit of a shit house too. Like you go back to when we
Yeah.
won the league at the Lane, like, and they told him not to celebrate after winning the league. Like, give me a fucking break. When he says, "Oh yeah," like they told me not to celebrate, so that means I'm going to celebrate even harder. Like I can relate to that. Like, don't tell me what I'm going to do and not do during one of the most career defining moments, like club defining moments in our history. Like I just love the way he approached the game. I love the way that he led the team after Vieira left. Like just the way that he conducted himself as an Arsenal player is something that sets him apart. I don't think there will be anybody else like him ever again at this club.
No, I agree. I mean, there's no way anybody's going to tell him what to do.
Yeah.
That's fact. Right. Good answer. I went down a different road myself.
Where did you go?
Bergkamp.
Bergkamp. Well, yeah, that's the other obvious choice.
To me, it's just his technical ability was just like legends. But right, this can be any player you like, anywhere in the world, doesn't matter.
All right.
Best non-Arsenal footballer.
Oh no, I was
Anybody.
Best non-Arsenal like currently,
past, the best non-Arsenal player, non-Arsenal.
Okay, I'll go currently, and this is gonna and I'm gonna say this because this comes with a disclaimer. Okay, this comes with a disclaimer. I don't want anybody coming after me in the chat because I say this. Okay, God, I hate myself for this because like if he played for my team, I would be over the moon, and I would probably like Heung-min Son. What a player, especially in the Poch years. Just watching him curl a ball into the back of the net is absolutely insane. Huh?
Can you just repeat that?
Heung-min Son, I enjoy watching play. Non-Arsenal player. He's probably one of my favorite players to watch. And I realize that he plays for Spurs, but the ability of that player is just absolutely insane. He's an absolute baller. I mean, and like you don't have all the answers, TJ. I know. I'm telling you this right now. Like in terms of somebody that I just respect as a footballer, but I hate him because he plays for Tottenham. Like it actually makes me respect him more because he loves his team. He sticks with his team. God knows why. But if you're talking about somebody that's a legend, like you're gonna talk about Harry Kane, right? We're gonna be talking about Harry Kane for years and years and years. But he left. He left for greener pastures. He didn't believe in the club. He didn't believe in what they were doing there, which I don't blame him. But there's something to be said about somebody that sticks. And I respect him for that. And look, there's nobody like if you need somebody to curl it into the net from outside of the box, that South Korean so-and-so will do it. And look, you got to respect the way that he approaches the game. He's an absolute bad boy. And I hate him for it, but I enjoy watching him play. Watching him play is something special.
No, fair enough. Fair play. Can't agree, but I'll go with you.
That's right.
Give you. You know what I'm saying? Right. I've changed this question because I was going to ask you. It's not fair to ask you or Dale or Matty. So, what's your most hated team in London?
It's a two-way tie. A two-way tie. I can't stand Spurs. I can't stand them. But I also can't stand Chelsea. I do a lot of
I've got to ask you this. Why do you hate Chelsea so much?
Honestly, I see a lot of race issues in that fan base.
Forget about the fan base. Talk about a team, because
reflects on that. Sorry, no, it goes back to the mid aughts and the Abramovich era. Just the fact that they go in and they buy all the players, and I just wasn't a fan of Abramovich.
What you're saying is they bought the league. That's what
they bought the league. Yeah, they bought the league.
I hear you.
And Eden Hazard, man, Didier Drogba, like I can go on and on and on. I hated Petr Cech.
Yeah,
even when he was on Arsenal, I still was just like, please, come on, man. Like, I just can't stand him. Like, and again, I can't get past the fans and the arrogance of the fans that they had, and they were just like, and the fact that they were heartbroken when they were forced to sell the team. I drank their tears. I'm not gonna lie. I drank their tears, and they deserve Todd Bowley, and they deserve everything that they've been suffering over the last 3 years. I can't stand Chelsea because there was just the arrogance. I can't stand the arrogance after you brought in a Russian oligarch to buy all these players. And look, some people that's okay with. Some people, that's fine. And I don't want to get into politics. I'm not trying to get into politics, but just the fact that you're bragging on that, and you didn't develop anything, you bought everything, is something that, like, yeah, no, some people can hang their hat on that, some people won't, and I wouldn't like to hang my hat on that personally. Yeah, and Eden Hazard, he just ruined too many Saturdays. He just ruined too many Saturdays.
I'll get you, man. To me, I can never pronounce this, mate. I don't want to butcher your name and embarrass myself. Son is a Spurs legend, but hasn't won a trophy, unlike Hoddle, Mabbutt, or Gaza. Very true.
True.
League Cup, yeah, cool. So we're not going to talk about that too much. They knocked us out of it. That shows Son's mentality, though. Kane has a winning mentality. Yes, but he hasn't won anything.
He hasn't won anything either.
He went to Bayern Munich and he hasn't won nothing there. I think this season, though, I think they will.
They will.
I think they will. Yeah. Son and Kane, their best Premier League era players. I don't agree with that, to be honest. There's been players there equally as good and better. I have to say, I'm sorry. There's been players there that have been legend players. But anyway, we move on. Right. I've lost it. All right. Okay. Best away game you've ever witnessed on the television.
On the television.
Well, I'm. It's not fair to ask you because you haven't.
Yeah. Well, technically, I was gonna say technically those preseason games are away games, right?
Yeah. Okay. Bring that into it. That's not a problem.
I'm gonna be honest. The first Arsenal game I ever went to, and I remember talking to you and talking to Kenny Ken that week when I went out to DC to catch my first Arsenal game ever.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I've forgotten about them, respectfully.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's all us Americans can get without leaving the country. And I will get out there to watch a game, Jez, at some point. But I mean, just seeing them live was everything to me, man. Like,
of course it was.
I remember seeing, like, and that was Declan, number one, that was Declan Rice's debut. And I remember they were in those awful yellow kits, remember, from last season. Yeah. Those were brutal. I remember them running out there, but I didn't care. It was everything to them. And Gabriel Jesus, first goal, I remember he was outside of the box, and he just chips the goalkeeper, makes it look so easy. 1-0. I think the best player that MLS had was like a washed Christian Benteke. Like that was who was captaining the MLS side. Wayne Rooney was the fucking head coach. Like, he was like, these guys were hapless. So you knew Arsenal were going to come in and cook these guys, but just being able to see them and being able to be a part of it was absolutely everything to me. And seeing Arsenal fans from all over the US come together and sing, sing as if we were there. All of us want to be at the Emirates. All of us want to be, in the North Bank. All of us want to see these players. And it's very, very special to, it's a core memory of mine to see Arsenal win. I mean, and I think it was like Jesus scored, Trossard scored, Saka scored, and I believe Havertz, believe it or not, scored. And yeah, that was incredible. We beat them 5-0. It was a joke of a game, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, it was great. It was absolutely incredible.
If you're the fact, the shed load of money that you've paid out, fair play to you, mate, for doing it. Mama says Ginola, yeah.
Ginola, yeah.
Player, great player. Right, next question, mate. Best Premier League manager that you believe in?
Oh, I mean, I hate it because it's not like I want to say Wenger because of just how he transformed the game. I think the league was behind in terms of where I have such a weird different view of it from other folks, because I realize like the reputation that Arsene Wenger has now versus what he had, back in the aughts. Like if you go back and watch, I mean, if you go back and watch, you say, oh yeah, this is the greatest manager, one of the greatest managers ever. Like he's probably my favorite. I mean, in terms of like who I rate the highest, it's obviously Pep Guardiola, but in terms of somebody who changed the game, it's Arsene Wenger. Like he brought nutrition. He brought the sport into the 21st century in terms of nutrition, conditioning, tactics. These are things that transformed the sport and made it better, in my opinion. Like in terms of pure athleticism, the athleticism that you see here today, in my opinion, doesn't happen without Arsene Wenger and what he did to deliver, top-notch athletes, not just footballers, athletes to Arsenal. And what did that translate to? It translated to trophies. It translated to the Invincibles. It translated to 3 Premier League wins, but it also helped the product grow. It helped make it more of a spectacle, in my opinion. And again, this is my opinion. I know, like, I didn't watch it in the mid 90s. I'm still going back and watching the comps. I think I'm on 90. I think I'm in 95, 96 right now.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's your show, your opinion. If that's where you want to go, fair enough.
Yep, that's where I'm going. And obviously there's Sir Alex and the class of 92 and all that stuff. I've watched all the documentaries, heard all about the Manchester Uniteds of that. And obviously Manchester United is the most popular club in America. Everybody loves Manchester United because Manchester United was the only club that NBC would put on in the 90s and early aughts. Like it took them a while to start putting on different clubs here in America.
Dal was telling me this last night.
Yeah.
Was it Fox TV or something? Or what we call it?
Yep. Dal was right on. Dal was right on. It was Fox or NBC, but it would be exclusively United. So everybody would get behind United. And that was the bend it like Beckham days and, the craziness surrounding that Man United team. And they deserved it. They were extremely successful. But, that's why everybody's so concentrated United in the United States. And you don't see a ton, like in terms of the numbers of foreign fans, or at least American fans, majority of them are United for that reason.
Well, let's be honest, Man United has got the biggest fan base in the world.
Yeah.
And that's been going on since the 60s. when they won the European Cup in 1968. But anyway, let's move it on.
Let's do it.
Let's move that on. In your opinion, best Arsenal defender in your
Opinion?
of your time of watching Arsenal,
Oh,
historically or modern days, it doesn't matter.
Sol Campbell, I like watching and going back and watching. Tony Adams. See, here's the thing. I always draw comparisons between Arsenal players and some of my favorite athletes. So there was a captain of the Colorado Avalanche. His name was Joe Sakic. My hockey fan followers will know who I'm talking about. And he led by example. He didn't really, he held people to a higher standard. And I saw that in Tony Adams in a lot of my research going back. And you've talked about him before at length. A lot of what I've learned about Tony Adams, I've learned from you. Like Adams was definitely my favorite, my favorite center back, one of my favorite captains. Campbell, love watching him. Ashley Cole before he went to Chelsea, obviously. Yeah, but in terms of defenders, it's probably Tony Adams. My favorite defender right now is Gabrielle. But yeah, that's in terms of historically, it's a close one between Campbell and Adams, and I would probably just have to go with Adams just because of the leadership that he provided. And the tone he set. I mean, when you think of Arsenal defense, you start with Tony Adams. So that's where I'm at.
He was Mr. Arsenal. Big up Gracie. Hope you're well.
Gracie May.
How's your leg? How's it getting? Is it getting better? Have you had the op yet? Need a catch up with you very soon, my lovely. Hope you're well. Hope you're very well. Asked to X-rated Aaron. Oi oi, that's his favourite saying. Anyway, we're gonna get this question now. Mate, TJ, best Arsenal goalkeeper. Your best Arsenal goalkeeper.
Honestly, this is where I lack a lot of education, but it's a tie between Lehman.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's your opinion on the goalkeepers you've seen play for Arsenal. There's no agenda here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your opinion. I mean, a lot of people have watched Arsenal longer than you and everything. It doesn't matter. So don't think there's any agenda here.
Yeah, no, I'm not thinking that. I'm just thinking like based off of like it's either Lehman or Seaman in terms of in terms of like just historically, it's the best. My favorite that I've seen play, like I liked Szczesny a lot. Before he left, I enjoyed watching him. He had a lot of great saves. I mean, I go back to that goal line save where he and Rhea made a save like that kind of reminded me of that against who was it, against Atalanta, where he made the same goal line save that he made that Szczesny made against Liverpool, he made against Atalanta. Like it was like history repeating itself almost. But like I believe. Go ahead. Sorry, what are you saying? Yeah, Runnerson. That's hilarious. Thank you for that. Arthur and Quo is my favorite. No, it was probably Szczesny was probably one of my favorites, and then I would say right now, I mean, it's David Raya. Like I love watching David Raya play. I think he's solid. I think he's going to be our goalkeeper to take us into the future. I said that, and I was excited about that when we signed him. But just in terms of historically and what I've watched, it was probably Szczesny. Just really, really enjoyed. I never really liked Petr Cech. He looked weird playing for us. I'm not going to lie. He looked very weird.
Check.
Yeah, Petr Cech. Yeah, he looked very weird playing for us. So it was like I could never really get on board with that. Yeah, so that's probably it in terms of who I rate the highest, either Seaman or Lehman, and then my favorite goalkeeper to watch right now, obviously it's this is recency bias is David Raya. David Raya, what a player!
I agree with that. I said that. I said that. I said exactly the same. Actually, on tonight with Lee. I mean, my vote when I did my own of this on Friday night was Seaman, but for consistency. But yeah, it doesn't matter. It's everybody's opinion counts. You know.
Mhm.
Uh, Gracie says still a long way to go yet. Maybe another 4 months or so. Gracie, it sounds to me you've got the same medical team as Arsenal. You know, it sounds like they obviously jump up to where you are and give you. I mean, it's shocking what's happened to you, but I wish you well, my lovely. I wish you well. Um, Czech had a good season, first good season, but dipped after that. Totally agree. I don't think he wanted to come to Arsenal. I won't lie. I think he thought he just. I mean, if you remember, Mourinho said, "Yeah, he can go. He can go to Arsenal." And it was all like all the Arsenal fans were going, "Oh, he's done the decent thing. He's done. He's letting him come to Arsenal. Oh, it's brilliant. What a great manager that Mourinho is." Fuck off. He was taking the piss. He knew. He knew.
He knew. Yeah.
Knew that Pep. That Czech was done. He's finished. And he wanted him out the door. And he was just being polite about it, saying, "Oh, mate, yeah, if you want to go to Arsenal, I'll sanction it and I'll see you later."
Yeah.
Get out there. How
Czech.
many Arsenal fans fell for that?
I don't know. Czech is like playing goalie in some Czech B League ice hockey league. You know, he wanted to play hockey, right? As soon as he retired, he was training to become a goalkeeper, a goalie for ice hockey in the Czech Republic.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was. Like, as soon as he retired, he was like training with Dominic Hasek. Like, this is where the crossover happens. He was a huge Dominic Hasek fan, and he immediately went to ice hockey after he retired. Crazy. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. It always just felt weird with him as the Arsenal goalkeeper. Always felt weird.
Gracie, I'll give you a call. All right. We'll catch up. Moschino says Czech was getting in on when he came to Arsenal in his mid-30s and past it. Yeah, he basically done his time. The transfer window killed Wenger. He only signed Czech. Lots became Wenger out from that. Well, yeah, it did happen like that. I won't lie.
Yeah.
I won't lie. It did happen like that. Question for TJ: what made him start? Well, we said this right.
Arsenal. Yeah, go to the beginning of the stream, Chris. That was where I got into that already.
We did that. He was Chelsea's technical director after Abramovich left. Gracie says, at Chris Ryan, it's the same injury, mate. Never had another injury, but it's my job, highly physical, so it happens. Tore my calf in two. Oh, yeah, nasty. Ooh, nasty. Yeah, I remember seeing Gracie, bless her, sent me some photographs of her leg, and it was not nice. Anyway, let's move this on. So, TJ, worst Arsenal game you've ever seen? There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. A lot of them.
That 3-0 away sticks out to me really, really bad, just because we were trying to return to the Champions League, where I think we belong. Yeah, like that's an obligation to Arsenal fans. And I just remember being so dejected about that. That was definitely my, like, in terms of recency, that was probably it. Like, Harry Kane scoring a PK, just getting this, them dunking on us. I losing to Spurs, like, even now I can't even form the words about it. Like, I remember I was so excited for that game. I pulled up. I was working from home, you know, but I went to the pub instead and pulled up in the middle of the day. Obviously I'm 6 hours behind you guys, so middle of the day for us. We have to watch it. And I remember working and going to the pub and watching us get drubbed 3-0 and basically losing out on top four in our return to the Champions League. That was really bad. The 4-0 at Anfield a couple of years ago, that was awful. Watching Arteta lose his head and wake Anfield up, that was really bad. I remember watching that and just being so mad. Yeah, those were two. That was awful. And then I know this is recent again, but it's still traumatic. The 3-3 Southampton draw a couple of years ago when we were going for the league, and we realized that it wasn't going to happen. I remember being in a hotel in Denver, and I did a match reaction with Matt, Southern Gooner, that lasted 17 minutes because I couldn't form the words, Jess. I was so angry. I couldn't form the words. And Matt literally recognized how pissed off I was.
Spitting feathers.
What?
You were spitting feathers.
Yeah. No, and he just goes, "We just need to end this." I go, "You know what? Yeah, you're right. I was worst stream and worst game I think I've ever watched in a while too, because not only did we draw to the worst team in the league, we had to come back to draw. That was the worst. That's what a lot of people don't remember about that, is we had to score in the 75th and I believe the 88th minute from Bukayo Saka to get to just draw at level. And yeah, I just remember I don't think I've ever been as angry as I was then after that game. And again, recency bias, guys. Obviously we can go back to Chelsea and Europa and all this stuff, but I mean, in terms of me actually paying attention and being really, really engaged, that those two really, really stick out for me. And then obviously the Europa League, you could talk about going out to Villarreal, Olympiacos, the West Ham loss last season, 3-0. Anytime we lose, I'm fuming, but those two really stick out.
Yeah, I'll give you on that one. So this is a penultimate.
All right.
I've got the ultimate. Worst Arsenal player, mate, you've ever witnessed.
I've ever witnessed. Worst Arsenal player I've ever witnessed. I've watched it again, so this is going to be recency bias. And no, I'm not going to say Eddie Nketiah. Okay, so everybody get that out of your head. Because he at least scored for us, right? I hated Mavropanos. Couldn't stand him. I'm just going to name a couple because there are a couple that really stick out. Mavropanos, I couldn't stand. Sonogo was another one. I'm going to go in terms of players that really just get my vitriol and did absolutely nothing of note for us is Fabio. Yeah, big up Connor. Fabio Vieira. I know he's still at the club. I hope he never plays for us again. I hated watching him. Willian's a good one too. But I can't stand him. He was never the right build. He was never the right mold for this club. He never really stuck out for me in terms of like a signing that was worth what we paid for him. In terms of being an absolute just bust, it was probably him. And the fact that people in the fan base were still trying to build him up to be something that he was never going to be really, really was frustrating for me, because I had to sit on panels for a year straight and hear people justify why this guy is on our team. And it was frustrating, especially with the direction that we're going in. So in terms of like who I've witnessed and what he has put on the club, it's probably him. And for what we paid for him too. Rob Holding is another one. Yes, Machino, but he was like, he He did things for the club on the defensive side of the ball for a certain number of years. This guy did nothing. He's done nothing for us. The one thing that I can say that he did was that one like world beater against, I think it was PSV in the Europa League in the group stage, like when we were already up 3-0, if I'm remembering correctly. And then he came on at Fulham and got that assist. Other than that, bit him off.
What about just throwing it in the mix? What about Ozil?
I don't think he was the worst. Like, are you talking about the worst player, like in terms of what we were expecting and who and how, if he disappointed us?
Well, all the players I was expecting something, and I just thought for what we 153 million pounds he cost us over these years he was here.
He was. I mean, I'm mixed on Ozil because he was a good player. He just never played for us. That was the thing. Like, I never thought after Real Madrid, I don't think Ozil ever played for Arsenal. I think Ozil played for Ozil. Does that make sense?
He played for anybody, did he?
Yeah, I mean, like he just seemed like he was a good footballer. Don't get me wrong. And he had some.
I agree.
And he had some good assists, but like in terms of you're measuring when I think about it, like Machino, I see you in the chat. He says he was a legend. Okay. Your definition of a legend is different than mine. When I think about a legend, I'm thinking about somebody who would die on the pitch for the club. Not skill is one thing. But producing for the club that is paying you that amount of money and the fan base who literally rioted in the streets when you came to the club and you didn't repay that. That's where I give Ozil criticism, is because everybody was so gassed about him, but he didn't end up doing anything of note for us. Yeah, we won a couple of FA Cups. Great. Couple of second places. Awesome. But what else did you do? What did you do for us? A couple of cup finals that we lost. Like, he wasn't enough to get us over the line. And again, Mesut Ozil is another one of those players where politics comes into it for me. And I just think that you're more worried about politicians and politics and world events and your own profile than you are about winning football matches. And that was really where I kind of, it began and ended for me. Like, great footballer, great assists. You can go out there and watch all the comps you want. But what did we win? A couple of FA Cups. That's it.
Okay, let's move that on, because that could go into many different debates.
Yeah.
Right. This is a bit of an unfair question. In the games of history you've watched, what stadium would you say is better, Highbury or Emirates?
Oh, Highbury, for sure. You got to I'm really glad that you asked this question, because I'm a huge stadium nerd. Like, when I go out to, I have this goal to visit every baseball and hockey stadium in the United States. And when I'm bored at night, or I'm trying to, I can't get to sleep or whatever, I'll look up old football grounds, right? And in terms of not only the magic and the history that was behind Highbury, there was also like the design and the atmosphere, the Art Deco, feel and architecture behind it. I mean, obviously it took years and years to get there. I mean, when Highbury was built in 1913, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 1913, the amount of history that is in that, it was over 90 years old when they turned it, when they tore it down. And you, in my opinion, you don't just...
I've lost you, mate.
Can you hear me? Can the chat hear me?
No, I'm all right. Sorry.
You got me? No worries. No. Like, until we win something, Jez, the Emirates is going to be an empty shell to people. And that's just what it is.
It's a fish bowl.
What?
It's a fish bowl.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and that's what you don't like. Atmospheres are created through winning and history, and people. You and I are going to be long gone before anybody forgets Highbury. And there we have to win tens of trophies, major honor after major honor after major honor to erase or to even put the Emirates even close to what Highbury was and the history, the Herbert Chapman bust, the Art Deco design, the Arsenal Stadium facade, right? When you think of Arsenal, that's what you think of, and you think of that history. And the fact that we got rid of that and didn't really transfer that magic over is probably the most disappointing thing.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Well, there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
It's funny history, mate. Well, that, mate, is your Arsenal journey. Thank you very much indeed. Great comments, great
Thank you for
answers.
having me.
And I appreciate you, mate, for jumping in to give me your opinions. And I think that the whole of the group chat will have enjoyed it. Mate, shout yourself out. Where you going? What are you doing? What are you coming up?
What I got coming up, Jez, is I might do a solo show on Thursday night. I got a new microphone coming in, so I think I'm going to figure that out. I think I'm going to try that out on a solo stream on Thursday night. But I'm doing that to prepare for the A1 American Idiot show that we have coming up on Friday, 8:30 p.m. UK time. We got Arsenal X-rated Aaron. He's in the chat right now. He is coming on. He will be making his American Idiots debut, and Jez will be returning to the show. I don't have to work. I don't know if Dal is working, but Dal will be Dal, so he'll be entertaining anyway. So American Idiots, 8:30 p.m. UK. Come and see us over there, and I'll be on what's today? Tuesday. I'll be on Flawless's channel on Wednesday at 11:30 p.m. UK for that show with Tony Claude Gunner. If you guys watch that show and you know Tony, that show is always a laugh. So go over there and watch that. But until then, just thanks for having me on. And for the people that don't know, okay, I'm going to say this again because I haven't been on Arsenal history more in a minute. The reason I am here is because of this man right here. I was in the chat and he you can look around. You can look around, but if people say, a TJ, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, he's not entertaining, he's a cure for insomnia, I say blame Jez. I say blame Jez Collins. That's what I say, because he pulled me out of the chat and said, start your own YouTube channel. And I did it. And people seem to agree with it for the most part. So thank you, Jez, again for pushing me in that direction. And thank you for having me on again. Appreciate it.
Mate, I always get the blame. No, mate, your channel's brilliant. I love it. I love it. As Gracie says, bless her, I do miss doing YouTube. Big up, Gracie.
YouTube misses you too, Gracie, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I used to love jumping on Gracie's channels, doing what the little chats we used to do. It's always good fun. Mate, I'm looking forward to Friday night to jump on your channel with Aaron, and we'll have a good old chat about God knows what else. But
Always goes off the rails.
Fair play, man. You've built your channel. You're doing brilliant, and you can't beat that. Grace has been a crazy year so far. Yeah, you've had a shit year, Gracie. You can't deny you've had a shit year, but it'll get better. That is for sure. Basically, people, we are out of here, and I'm looking forward to jumping on with Aaron, who's got a lovely channel. Fair play to him, man. And Aaron's put your link out there. Fair play to him,
my guy.
I think Aaron's out in Portugal right now.
Oh yeah, he told me he's coming. He's coming in live to American Idiots from Portugal too. So we'll have to have him show us around a little bit.
Yeah, he's living the bloody dream. You know what I mean?
No kidding.
Big up, Mama. Anyway, people, I'm going to do the outro, and I'm out of here because I've got some things I've got to sort out. Well, well, whatever. I'll take care, people. Love you all. Thanks for watching. These streams, I have to say, are absolutely effing brilliant. They're brilliant. So many different opinions, so many people, like, I can't wait to go through all of them. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Anyway, we're out of here. Take care.
Later.